AI and food blogging. Why is that a problem? What can you do? What can you learn? And what can you do to figure out whether AI was involved in image creation or recipe creation? After last week's video that I posted here on YouTube, the link is in the description box below, I was really floored by the amount of passionate comments that I received on that video. So that prompted me to make a part 2 to this, because it is something that is very close to my heart, but obviously also to you as a reader. And I think that together we can do certain things. We can never stop this. The train has left the station, but there are things that you can do to basically make sure that you get to see the content that you would like to see. What is the problem? The more AI generated food images and recipes we see flooding the internet, the less we're actually getting real content from real bloggers that have tested the recipes, and it can be challenging to really tell one from the other. So this is what I'm going to go into this video today. So with that, you're losing the trust, the quality, and the real cooking experience that you can only get from somebody who has actually cooked the recipe, and not just once, but over and over again, to make sure that the results are always the same given the recipe instructions. First of all, there is AI generated images, and I don't want to necessarily condemn AI. I want to just briefly recap that I use AI myself quite a bit. And here's one example. When I write a recipe post, I sometimes get a little bit too wordy and not concise enough. And then often what I do is I paste my whole content into AI and say, make this a little bit more concise. So I'm not repetitive. I'm not stating the obvious, although sometimes you need to state the obvious because not everybody has a lot of experience in the kitchen. But there are ways in which I can be more concise. And I know that I sometimes tend to be a little bit more wordy, but that's just me. So this is why I use AI, for example, and I love it for that. There's also for my own workflow and for certain tasks and for certain research, I love using AI. However, there's a time and place for that. And I don't use AI generated images. When I see them, something in me just goes, that's just not what food looks like. So how can you detect AI generated images? First of all, look at it. Typically, it's too perfect. I used this example with the gooseberries that were erroneously labeled as currants, and they were gooseberries. It was actually in a German group, and currants are Johannisbeeren and gooseberries are Stachelbeeren. And they all had the same size, the same shape, perfectly round. They were all stacked. The colors were too uniform and too vivid. So this was a really easy one to detect. However, sometimes you see photos where you have to look twice whether they're actually AI generated or not. And it may not necessarily be a sign of a lesser quality if somebody actually goes to AI and says, generate me an image. But if I'm actually creating the recipe and I'm taking a picture, why not post that? Because I'm making the recipe. And I think that also, my photos are not perfect, but I do home cooked meals and I want my images to look like something that you could make in your own kitchen with all the imperfections and the realness of food that you cooked in your own kitchen. So oftentimes you have, everything is just too perfect. And then oftentimes you also have little details that are a little bit off. So for example, the herbs are too big in relation to the meat, or the meat has a weird texture. It almost looks like something that was grown in a lab. Now, if we're using AI images, then we might as well use lab grown meat, but that's a whole different topic. I'm off on a tangent here. But those are things. Or if you're looking at a person and the shape of their hand is kind of off, or they have missing fingers or too many fingers, or the forks have a weird shape. So there's all these little details that when you zoom in, you can see and you can figure out, okay, so this was an AI generated image. And then it typically doesn't have any flaws. When I created my air fryer bread recipe, the very top of the bread actually burnt a little bit because it was rising so nicely, which we all want, but it was touching the coils because the air fryer only has a certain size, and you don't want to make little rolls, you actually want to make a bread. So that you can see in the photo. And sometimes it is just too flawless, whereas if you cook your own recipe, right? And you may have little like dribbles or something that doesn't look quite right. It's maybe not exactly sharp in all the places. So when it's not having any flaws, when it's too flawless, then you also know it's AI generated. AI generated images are one thing, and I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way when real food bloggers use AI created images for their, what we call hero images, the main photo of the final dish. Now, what about AI created recipes? And I think that's where everybody's in agreement. You want a recipe created by a real person and not by a machine, because a machine doesn't have taste buds, a machine doesn't have the experience, and AI doesn't have the senses that we have. Something to look for in an AI created recipe may be weird times, like the baking time for a bread is way too short, or unrealistic expectations about how certain things go, unrealistic amounts. 12 pounds of butter in a recipe. I think in my other video I talked about 19 pounds of honey. I couldn't find that example, but I know I saw that somewhere. You can also get vague or odd measurements, like adding some salt or just not really being specific, because like I said, AI doesn't really know, doesn't have taste buds like we do, and has that experience like, oh, a dash of salt, or actually it needs a full tablespoon of salt. And then nobody needs to know, all the background details about how you spent summers in Italy at your grandmother's and your grandmother went out to the garden, blah, 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 blah. But when you actually read a recipe by a real food blogger, oftentimes there will be little personal tidbits in there to know that there's a real person with a real experience making this recipe. And it checks out with the overall About Me page that you can always look at. And I have this one recipe site, and forgive me if this recipe site is by real food bloggers, but when I looked at it, there is an About Me page. But why is there not a photo of the couple that they're saying that they are? I'd like to see what they look like. I'd like to see, okay, so here's him and her, and they're touring the world. They have tons of photos, but again, I apologize if I have mistakenly claimed that they are AI generated, but most of their German recipe images are clearly AI generated, and I'm not seeing a real person, real people on their About page. And that makes me think they're just in for the money. I mean, yes, we all have bills to pay, but I'm very passionate about sharing the recipes and sharing my heritage and creating this community, and not just making a buck here and there. You can also, if you're not really sure if a food blogger is real, you can also go on their website and in the comments section ask questions, or on social media engage with them and see if you get any response back. And if it's not, there's a canned response, because that could be AI generated, but a real response from a real person. So what can you do as the viewer? First of all, educate yourself, look at some examples, and I think you'll sharpen your senses and be able to detect pretty quickly, now, is this an AI generated image or recipe, or is there a real food blogger behind it? Now, if you're following my recipes, you know I'm real. I'm as real as it gets with all the flaws. Today I have a little pimple right here under my nose, and so I have my flaws, but that hopefully makes me human, and you know that I really exist. So educate yourself, but also go on, for example, this food blogger example that I was using. I went on their Pinterest, and for how many followers they are supposedly having across the platforms. They only have 400 and something on Instagram, and they only have one post on Instagram. So that gives me a little bit to think and like, I wonder if they're real. And conversely, I invite you to support the bloggers that you know and trust, because ultimately I hope that you want those real food bloggers to be able to continue to make content. And sometimes when people are complaining that there are too many ads on my website, I'm putting out free content, free recipes for you, and I love to do that. But I have bills to pay. I have this house. I need to buy ingredients. I need to test the recipe. So sometimes I need to buy the ingredients 3 or 4 times so that I can test the recipe. And by the very simple thing you can do is look at my recipe posts and let the ads play. You can scroll past the ads, and if there's an X, if you really want to, you can click the X. Just know that if you let the video play, I'm actually getting just a little bit more money. Now, that's not a whole lot of money. And there's other ways. If you are really ticked off by the commercials and the ads on my recipe site, then you can also follow me on Just the Recipe. You can follow me on Food Social. Those are sites where you pay a little bit for a membership, and then you get ad-free recipe content, not just to my site, but to all the other food bloggers that are on those platforms. And if you feel particularly called to support me, you can also go to Buy Me a Coffee, and you can enter any amount. And yes, it sounds really cute. And then on YouTube, watch my videos, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, and you know that if you leave, even if you don't agree with me, if you leave a respectful comment that I can reply to in a respectful manner, and we don't always have to agree on everything. We can agree to disagree, and I know that not everybody agrees with me, but I think that we can have a real respectful discourse. And I know that I'm at this point where I just do not have the time in my day to respond to all the comments. I try to, at least in the first few days after I publish a video, and then sometimes I can actually filter by questions. If somebody has a real question, I'll try to just go in and try to answer the questions. But for the most part, know that if it has a heart, I have read it, and I'm trying my best to actually answer all the comments as best as I can. I really want to thank you though for being in this endeavor here with me and to indulging me, because I think this is something that concerns all of us, and AI is not going anywhere. We know that. Like I said, the train has left the station, but we can make sure that we are shaping an environment for ourselves where we are connected to real food bloggers, we are connected to real people, and let AI do the thing that AI does best, but let us food bloggers do the things that we do best, and that is cooking and sharing experience from our kitchens. But you can also go, and when you spot suspicious content, you can also report it in many ways. You don't have to click on it if you don't, so that's a click lost. And the same way, if you go and do a Google search or a Safari search, oftentimes you will get the AI overview. And sometimes that can be really easy, because if you're just looking at how long do I need to cook corn in an air fryer, it may actually be a lot more efficient for you to just get the AI overview answer. And the AI overview answer actually comes from the food bloggers like us who put the content in. But if you go to their sites and try to scroll, like, where do I find that? So I get that. But just know that every time you go and Google something, you just go to the AI overview and then leave your search. There's a food blogger that didn't get the click, or there are some food bloggers that didn't get the clicks. Now, there are a lot of instances where you can just scroll past the AI overview and go to a real website and support that blogger that gives you a really good answer. And again, here is the link to the video I posted last week if you want to watch it and still chime in, because I'm still reading comments. So I hope that together we can keep this real in a real community, alive in a world full of shortcuts. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.